All right, old school NBA fans, self-researched NBA facts. Got another video for you. As always, thanks to anybody who watches my videos, subscribes to my channel. I really appreciate it. I just want to take a moment to say to anybody who's in the path of Hurricane Milton, hopefully everybody's going to be okay and be safe and all that. I lived in Florida for 23 years actually, from 2000 till just last year. And I moved back to Illinois. A lot of various reasons, but one of them was because of the hurricanes and how bad they were and everything. And, I lived on the west coast of Florida, just below Tampa. And looks like they're going to go through a bad one. So anyway, just wanted to let anybody know who's dealing with it. Anybody in Florida, I'm thinking of you. I'm thinking of all you guys. It's a tough deal. It really is. Until you've been through one, you don't fully understand them. They're a tough deal. Besides the storm itself, the aftermath, the cleanup, the power outage, the water outage, no cell service, it's tough. But anyway, just want to let you guys know I'm thinking about you. In this video here is the third video I did in a series of some modern stars and their 50-point games. And I did one on Kobe, and I did one on LeBron, Curry, Kevin Durant, Larry Bird, players like that. This one here, I saved the best for last, Michael Jordan. Now, Michael Jordan had a lot of 63-point games. And I'll try to get through them as quick as I can, but it's important I get through them all. 1986, first round of the playoffs, game 2, Michael Jordan's playoff record, single game, 63 points against Boston. Hall of Famers Dennis Johnson, Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, and Robert Parrish were on that team. In the next season, 1987, where Jordan got the majority of his 50-plus point games, November 1st, 1986, at the Knicks, 50 points for Jordan. Ewing was on that team. January 8th, 1987, versus Portland, 53 points. Clyde Drexler was on that team. February 26, 1987, versus New Jersey, 58 points. March 4th, 1987, at Detroit, 61 points. Adrian Dantley, Isaiah Thomas, and Joe Dumars were on that team. March 24th versus Philadelphia, 56 points. Barkley was on that team. April 12th, 1987 versus Indiana, 53 points. The very next day, back-to-back games, April 13th at Milwaukee, 50 points. Sidney Moncrief and Jack Sikma on that team. 3 days later, April 16th, 1987, versus Atlanta, 61 points. Dominique Wilkins on that team. That's like the same kind of thing that Kobe had, that 4 or 5 game stretch there where he had all those games. Jordan had a 3-game stretch from April 12th to April 16th where he had a 53, a 50, and a 61-point game. Very impressive. And then the 87-88 season, Jordan's probably best individual season, he had 6 of them. He had a 52-pointer versus Cleveland. You're going to hear that a lot. I mean, he just whooped on Cleveland. Also, February 26, 1988 versus Portland, 52 points. Clyde Drexler was on that team. March 18th, 1988 versus Boston, 50 points. Dennis Johnson, Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, Robert Parrish on that team. April 3rd, 1988 at Detroit, 59 points. Rodman, Dantley, Dumars, Isaiah on that team. April 28th, 1988. First round of the playoffs, game 1 versus Cleveland, 50 points. The very next game, game 2, on May 1st, 1988, versus Cleveland, 55 points. The next season, the 88-89 season, Jordan had 6 50 or more point games. November 9th, the 4th game of the year, at Boston, 52 points. Bird, Dennis Johnson, McHale, Parrish on that team. A week later, November 16th, 1988, at Philly, 52 points. Charles Barkley, Maurice Cheeks on that team. 10 days later, November 26th, 1988, at Denver, 52 points. Alex English and Walter Davis, 2 Hall of Famers, were on that team. January 21st, 1989, versus Phoenix, 53 points. February 16th, 89, versus Milwaukee, 50 points. Jack Sikma on that team. May 5th, 1989, a playoff game, first round, game 4, versus Cleveland, 50 points. The next season, the 89-90 season, Jordan had 3 of them. He had November 3rd, 89, versus Cleveland, 54 points. December 20th, at Orlando, 52 points. March 28th, 1990, at Cleveland, his career high, 69 points. I believe that's the highest game score of all time. 69 point, 18 rebound. Okay. He didn't have any in the 90-91 season. But in the 91-92, he had 3 of them. March 19th, 1992, at Washington, 51 points. 5 days later, March 24th, 92, versus Denver, 50 points. Dikembe Mutombo on that team. April 29th, 1992, first round, game 3 at Miami, 56 points. Then the next season, the 92-93 season, November 20th, 92, at LA, 54 points. James Worthy and Vlade Divac on that team. December 23rd, 92, versus Washington, 57 points. January 16th, 1993, versus Orlando, 64 points. Shaquille O'Neal on that team. March 12th, 1993, versus Charlotte, 52 points. Alonzo Mourning on that team. So there's a lot of good centers here. Divac, Shaq, Mourning. Here's another one. May 31st, 1993, Eastern Conference Finals, Game 4. Michael Jordan, 54 points. Patrick Ewing on that team. June 16th, 1993, Game 4 of the Finals versus Phoenix. Michael Jordan, 55 points. Okay, then Jordan had his first retirement, came back, and I think this was his 5th game of the year. March 28th, 1995, at the Knicks, the 55-point game. Patrick Ewing on that team. Okay, then that was the only one that year. Then the 95-96 season. March 7th, 1996, versus Detroit, 53 points. Grant Hill and Joe Dumars were on that team. November 6th, 1996. This is the 96-97 season. In the playoffs, his first one, this wasn't playoffs, I'm sorry. It was just the 4th game of the season. At Miami, 50 points. Alonzo Mourning and Tim Hardaway on that team. January 21st, 1997, versus the Knicks, 51 points. Patrick Ewing on that team. And then his last playoff 50-point effort was in the 97 season on April 27th, first round game 2 versus the Washington Bullets. 55 points for Jordan. Chris Webber on that team. And then his last 50-point game he ever did was on December 29th, 2001 versus Charlotte. 51 points. So, in total, Jordan had 39 50-point games. Okay? 39 of them. 22 of them, of the 39, more than half, were against a top 10 defense. 32 of the 39 games were against top half defenses. And only 7 in the bottom half, which is pretty remarkable. I just think that's incredible when you think about it. Actually, no, it's not true. It was 8. So he had 31 in the top half of defenses and 8 in the bottom half. And he had he had 14 games against top 5 defenses. 14 50-plus point games against top 5 defenses. He had 8 of them against top 2 defenses, and 4 of them against the number 1 defense. And just to refresh everybody's memory, I don't know, Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant didn't have any top 2s. He hung 50 points on. He had 4 top 10s out of his 10 50-point games. Steph Curry had 1 top 10 in his 14 50-point games. LeBron James had 4 of his 15 50-point games against top 10 defenses. And Kobe Bryant had 6 of his 26 against top 10 defenses. So all these are way, way less than half. Where Michael Jordan had more than half of his 50-point games against top 10 defenses. And let's go over some of them. Okay, his very first 50-point game was the 1986 playoffs, Game 2 at Boston, 63 points. Boston was the number 1 ranked defense, okay? At Detroit in 1987, where Jordan scored 61 points on March 4th, 1987, Detroit, a very good defense in the late 80s, was the 5th ranked defense. The same year, March 13th, 87, at Milwaukee, they were the 4th ranked defense. Same year, 3 days later, April 16th, 87, versus Atlanta. Atlanta was the 2nd ranked defense. And he's hanging 50 and 60 points on these kind of teams. The 87-88 Cleveland Cavaliers, they were the 5th ranked defense. He put 52 and 50 on them in the regular season, then put a 55 on them in the playoffs. Impressive. Okay, and then in the 88-89 season, January 21st versus Phoenix, he had 53 points. They were the 5th ranked defense. A couple weeks later in February, Milwaukee was the 6th ranked defense. The first round, Game 4 against the 89 Cleveland Cavaliers, they were the 2nd ranked defense. It just shows you that he did not hang these on a bunch of bums. There was a few bottom feeding teams, but 1993 against the Knicks, when he had the 54-point game in the Eastern Conference Finals, number 1 ranked defense. In the finals against Phoenix in 93, they were the 9th ranked defense. In 95, when Jordan came back from the first retirement against the Knicks, 55 points, they were the number 1 ranked defense. Then in the 96-97 season at Miami was the number 1 ranked defense with P.J. Brown, Alonzo Mourning, Dan Marley. All those guys grabbed multiple all defenses. He put 50 on them. And in the same season, a couple months later, he put 51 on the Knicks, who were the number 2 ranked defense. So in the same year, in 96-97 season, he put 50 on the number 1 ranked defense on the road, and then 51 against the 2nd ranked Knicks. So anyway, Michael Jordan's 50 and 60 point games are much more impressive than these other guys because he did it against top ranked defenses. I mean, you're talking Detroit in 88, Detroit in 87, a bunch of Clevelands when they were, highly ranked team. Defensively, Ron Harper was a good defensive player. Hot Rod Williams was. Larry Nance, definitely a good defensive player. Boston with McHale and Bird and Parrish and Dennis Johnson. They were the number 1 ranked in 86 and when he got the 63 points. These were not just ordinary teams that he hung these games on. Like in 87 against Milwaukee. Milwaukee was a phenomenal defensive team. Paul Pressey, Sidney Moncrief. Moncrief won multiple Defensive Players of the Year. Paul Pressey was first team all-defense multiple times. These were good defensive players. I mean, Maurice Cheeks one year, he put 50 points on. But anyway, that's about it for this video. I wanted to show the contrast between all these other guys. Jordan hung 22 of his 39 50-point games on top 10 rated defenses, and 14 of his 39 on top 5 rated defense. I think that's about 40%, maybe a little more than that. 40% of his 50-point games was against top 5 rated defenses. Like Steph Curry had 1 out of 14 games against like a top 5. I think LeBron James had 2 out of his 15. Kobe Bryant, I think he only had 3 out of his 26. Jordan had 14 out of 39. I just think it's time to recognize, that Michael Jordan had the most 50-point games, and he did it against high-quality defenses for the most part. Yeah, there's some in here that weren't, sure, but most of them were high-quality defenses. So he didn't just merely get a 50-point game, but did it against all defensive players, top-rated defensive teams. So to me, makes it much more impressive. Not just the quality of the quantity of 50-point games, but the quality of the 50-point games. And I know people think like, oh, it's so easy to get 50-point. It is now, because you can just make uncontested layups and shoot as many threes as you want. But to score 50 points and be efficient while doing it from, I would say, basically the beginning of basketball all the way until probably early, maybe 2012, 2013, somewhere around there, maybe 2014. Then it started getting ridiculous with all the threes, opening everything up, defensive 3 seconds, no hand checking. But when you did it before the last decade, say, it's impressive. So anyway, that's about it for this video. As always, thanks for watching, and until next time.